Hi, I'm Saida Garrett, co-writer of Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mr. Mark Tara.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the persons appearing on the program.
Today on Rainbow Country, my TIFF 2022 coverage continues. Today, Buffy Sainte-Marie, Carry It On, the documentary. All that and more coming up on episode 318, so stay tuned. For Gay Talk Radio right here on Rainbow Country.
Hi, this is Carol Pope.
Hi, I'm Garrett Conley, author of Boy Erased, a memoir.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Segato.
Hi, I'm Gord Depp with the Spoons. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Well, hello and welcome to a brand new journey through Rainbow Country. As I like to call it, a little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. And as always, I am your tour guide through Rainbow Country. I'm producer and host, Mark Tara. By the way, Rainbow Country originates from CIUT-FM in Toronto, and now proudly in syndication on 12 outlets across Canada, from coast to coast to coast. The Yukon, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the east coast of Canada in Newfoundland, Ontario, even down to Buffalo, New York, and online. Well, thanks to you tuning in, streaming, downloading, but ultimately listening. Together, we continue to build Rainbow Country into a nationally syndicated gay radio show, a #1 LGBT podcast on Podomatic.com's Gay and Lesbian chart, as well as being recognized as Canada's #2 LGBT podcast on Feedspot.com. So today, coverage of the 47th Toronto International Film Festival continues. And on this episode, the documentary, Buffy Sainte-Marie, Carry It On. I'll be joined by award-winning music producer Chris Burkett, who will fill us in on this documentary, as well as his decades-long working relationship with Buffy Sainte-Marie and more. Plus, we'll meet the programmers from TIFF, and today, Thom Powers, Senior International Programmer for TIFF Docs. And a segment I like to call Festival Street, where I go around randomly interviewing people that are attending the film festival. Plus, in hour 2, music from LGBT artists, independent artists, voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house. And on this episode, I'm featuring some British 80s, some new Canadian indie music, and more. All that lies ahead as we start Journey 318 through Rainbow Country. But our first stop, the Rainbow Country School for Canadian Gay History. Today's lesson from activist and author Tim McCaskill, the 1980s censorship of Canada's LGBT community.
Glad Day Bookshop started in Gerald Moldenhauer's backpack around 1972. Gerald figured that to build community we needed access to our history, our culture, our literature, our porn. He started schlepping books and magazines from one queer event to another to sell. As the collection got bigger, he moved it to a hall in the commune where he lived, in an old house on Seton Street in downtown Toronto. In those days, to see the books, you needed to phone first to make an appointment to come over. Glad Day finally opened a fully fledged store in the late 1970s, and that's when the more public profiles started causing problems. An issue with the Canadian book business is that a lot of titles are published elsewhere and therefore need to be imported, and that means they all have to pass through Canada Customs. And Canada Customs in those days was not about to let dirty, smutty, queer literature cross the border to corrupt innocent Canadians. Glad Day started having books seized and shipments blocked starting in 1977. It got worse in the 80s. Even The Joy of Gay Sex got banned as obscene. And even if books got through customs, they were still not safe. In April 82, police raided Glad Day and charged employee Kevin Orr with selling obscene material. And that wouldn't be the last raid. Glad Day was embroiled in court cases for years. Some American publications actually started producing special Canadian editions with pages blanked out to get them across the border. In 1983, partners Bruce Smythe and Jim Deva started a gay bookstore in Vancouver called Little Sisters. Little Sisters was soon experiencing customs seizures as well. What was infuriating was that big mainstream bookstores were now importing and selling many of the same titles without a problem. It was just small gay-run bookstores that were being targeted. Little Sisters also fought the customs seizures through the courts. But it took years and thousands of dollars before the Supreme Court finally decided that the seizures were a violation of the Charter of Rights. That was in 2000. Customs still had the right to stop materials, but the onus was on them to prove they were obscene. Customs censorship finally began to grind to a halt. By this time, queer material was widely available, and the digital age meant that borders were being largely irrelevant anyway. But today, both Glad Day and Little Sisters continue to operate as bookstores. Glad Day is actually the oldest surviving gay bookstore in the world. So if you are in Toronto or Vancouver, be sure to check them out. They're part of the living history of our community. This is Tim McCaskill, author of Queer Progress.
Hi, everybody. This is Gino Vanelli. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Up next, Buffy Sainte-Marie, Carry It On, the new documentary that's part of TIFF 2022. And joining me to talk all about this new documentary and more, award-winning music producer, Chris Burkett. Chris Burkett, hi, how are you?
Fine. I'm having a good time. How are you?
I am well. I am better now that I am speaking to you to talk about this new documentary that's part of TIFF 2022, Buffy Sainte-Marie, Carry It On. You are part of this documentary. What can you tell me about this film?
Well, actually, it's the second documentary made on the life story Buffy, which is an ongoing thing, obviously, because she's still with us. The first one was made by my wife, Joan Prowse. She made the official life story. It's called Buffy Sainte-Marie, A Multimedia Life. But they're just doing a new one now, as you just mentioned, made by White Pine Pictures. And funny enough, they've been my wife and White Pine have been communicating a lot, because there's some footage that she has from the early documentary which cannot be got again, because people in the footage have left or, departed or whatever. So it's a bit of a collaboration, which is really cool.
And you are part of this documentary. You're in the documentary, but I believe you're also working on the music. Yeah,
Buffy kind of insisted that I mix the music for the documentary, the music which consists of her performances, not the incidental music. I don't know who's doing that, but she wanted me, because I've been working with her since 1992 and we have a great relationship and we understand each other. She insisted that I actually was involved in the presentation of her as an artist, which is live concert mixes and all that sort of thing.
Is the film done? Have you seen it?
I've only seen director's rough cut. That's what I've been working to. It's kind of interesting because some of the songs have they're kind of a combination of various concerts, which is a real interesting thing for me to achieve. I had to combine the sound from a London concert with the sound from a Massey Hall concert with the sound from a New York concert, and make them all sit together, and sometimes actually join that sound onto the released CD version of the same song. So you can imagine what it was like, but it all worked out really well, and everybody's happy. So they're going with it.
Well said, and well done, well done.
Yeah, it's a techie thing, but it's not like songwriting, but it takes a lot of skill on Pro Tools, which is the system I'm using.
You've produced a number of Buffy Sainte-Marie's albums, including 2017's Medicine Songs, which includes the track Carry It On, which is the title of this documentary. Yeah. You mentioned earlier about meeting Buffy Sainte-Marie back in the early 90s. How did you meet Buffy Sainte-Marie originally?
Well, I met her in the office of Ensign Records in London. Ensign Records was a label run by Nigel Grange and Chris Hill. Nigel Grange is Lucian Grange's brother, and Lucian Grange is the CEO of Universal. So they're quite a powerful music family. I've been producing records for Nigel for some time. I was, in fact, the Ensign in-house producer, so I got to work with Sinead O'Connor and Bob Geldof and some of the Ensign acts. I worked with them. And then one day Nigel called me and said, you're going to laugh at this. He said, guess what, Chris? I've just signed a legend. And I got all excited. He said, I want you to produce it. And I said, great. Who is it? And he said, it's Buffy Sainte-Marie. And I said, who's that? Because I'm European, right? I'm from London, and I didn't know about Buffy and her work very much. And this is the early 90s we're talking about, right? And I didn't really know much about her because she's more, she's big in Canada and the States, but not a lot apart from the song "Up Where We Belong," which is kind of an international hit,
huge hit that she co-wrote.
Yeah, that's right. So Jack Nietzsche, I think, had a part to do in that, her ex. But I didn't really know who Buffy was, and so she flew over a couple of days later, and I met in the office, in Ensign office in London, and we got on really well. And then the interesting thing about this whole thing is that Buffy said, "Well, I live in Hawaii, and you live in London." She said, "This album's going to be difficult in terms of jet lag. I'm flying over here, I'm going to be zonked out for 4 days, and you're going to the same way, that way, it's going to be really difficult. So let's see if we can work out a way that we can start this album, without flying all over the place," which is great for the carbon footprint, by the way, So Buffy's always been environmentally conscious anyway. So anyway, she had a techie boyfriend called Roger Jacobs who lived in Hawaii. And I had a techie engineer called Ian Plested who worked at my studio in London. And so between them, me, Buffy, Roger and Ian, we worked out how to get Buffy's keyboard files all over to my studio in London from Hawaii. And this had never been done before. We were the first people to achieve any kind of music transfer over the pre-existing web. The server was called CompuServe. So that was not, that was the only... And it was done by modem. Remember the old modem things? It might be before your time, but it wasn't the information, digital information the way we know it. It was kind of a screeching sound came over the phone and it went to the machine. And so that was so Buffy sent the whole coincidence and likely stories, basic work in progress stuff that from the songs she had written. She sent that all over to me in London. It's all keyboard. It was a very keyboardy album, so it's all keyboards at the time. So I downloaded it. I mirrored her equipment in my studio in London, and then I burnt all that onto 24-track analog, which I had the machine there in my home studio. And then I took the tapes. Those days it was big, heavy reels of tape. I took them over to Hawaii, and Buffy did not have a 24-track machine to play the tape, so we went to Steely Dan's studio on Maui. And continued working on the album, vocals, drums, that sort of thing, So that's how the album was born on the web. And Billboard magazine did a big article on it because it was we were the first known people to actually start an album on the pre-web.
Wow, trailblazers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got one down in history.
Chris Burkett, who knew? Who knew? Here's something that I personally did not know. Elvis Presley, Roberta Flack, Barbra Streisand, they all have something in common.
Until it's time for you to go, Buffy Sainte-Marie song.
They've all recorded Buffy Sainte-Marie's music.
Yeah, exactly. Elvis
Presley to Barbra Streisand. Who knew? Who knew?
Well, it's Elvis actually was quoted as saying that "Until It's Time for You to Go" was his favorite love song. It's pretty cool.
And of course, she co-wrote that huge hit, "Up Where We Belong." Jennifer Warren and I think
Joe Cocker.
And Joe Cocker. Thank you. That was part of a huge movie. And what was it? Officer and Gentleman?
Yeah, that's it. That movie was quite a hit, but the song was massive.
Huge.
It really made a big wave for Buffy. And as you know, she's been a campaigner and a pioneer for Indigenous rights ever since she started singing. And before so, and she never really people really never took her seriously because they couldn't believe that a pretty young Indigenous girl could have such strong political views, And so she wasn't taken seriously for a long time. She even got blacklisted for a while by the Nixon administration. So it's her music was banned from the U.S. radio play in the U.S. is banned for some time. So it was, she had it tough, but she didn't give up. She kept going, and now she's beginning to be recognized for what she is, and because of truth and reconciliation that's happening here in Canada, her time has come. So I'm very happy for her, and I feel really, really grateful to have the honor to work with her too.
So again, the album Medicine Songs in 2018, it won the Juno Award for Indigenous Album of the Year and won the Best Folk Album of the Year at the 2018 Indigenous Music Awards. You were instrumental in that because you produced that record.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you to have created an album of the year? What does that mean to you? Because you are a musician, you're a producer, but you're also an artist as well.
Yeah, thank you. I was obviously very happy to I was at the Juno Awards when she beat Drake. He was supposed to get it and she got it. So I was really pleased about that. Not that I got anything against Drake, but I felt that Buffy deserved it. And but it wasn't the first Juno that was won for the work we did together. Also, we had Juno for Running for the Drum. And also put the Polaris Prize for Power in the Blood. So it's just a few prizes been notched up by Buffy, and it's really good. I'm very happy for her. I met my wife, the woman that I live with now, Joan Prowse. I met her because of Buffy Sainte-Marie, because Joan, as I mentioned earlier in this interview, she produced and directed Buffy's first official life story documentary. Now, they released that in 2009, I think it was, with the album that me and Buffy had just made called Running for the Drum. This is the predecessor to Power in the Blood. And I was playing guitar for Buffy at the time, and we played at Massey Hall for the release. And coincidentally, the release also was also part of the release was the official life story documentary. So they did a double package, the album and a DVD. And so Joan, the person that had been calling me since 2008 with questions about how I did this and that with Buffy, to put into the documentary, I finally met her in person in the green room at Massey Hall after the show. And then we stayed in touch and fell in love, and that's how I'm in Canada. So I'm in Canada because of Buffy, basically. It's a love story.
Hi, I'm Keegan Hurst, former professional rugby player, coach, raving homosexual, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Canada's LGBTQ2+ archives just released Out North, an archive of queer activism and kinship in Canada. Order a copy from your local bookstore to dive into hundreds of loud and proud stories and photos of historical queer life in Canada from pre-1939 to today. Get your copy from your local bookstore. Out North, an archive of queer activism and kinship in Canada.
Hello, Canada. I'm author Anthony Bedolka. I wanted to let you know that my latest novel, Going to Beautiful, is out right now. It's available wherever you get your favorite books. Going to Beautiful tells the story of Jake Hardy, a celebrity chef, and Eddie Kravitz, a fashion designer. They've got fame, a great kid, an awesome dog, and they've got each other. They really had it all. Until they didn't. Going to Beautiful is out right now. It's available wherever you get your favorite books. Talk soon, Canada.
Hitmakers is a full-service, award-winning record label and social enterprise based in Iqaluit, Nunavut. We specialize in the creating and marketing of world-class Inuit and Indigenous music, including pop, hip-hop, rock, folk, and traditional Inuit music. Hitmakers has studios in Iqaluit, Ottawa, and Toronto. The label currently works with more than 20 Inuit and Indigenous artists, and we represent and promote many more. The company was founded in 2016, and our mission is to create viable careers in the arts for Inuit and Indigenous artists through music, media, and education. Our secondary mission is to empower artists to share and strengthen their stories and culture. To learn more, please connect with us on social media or at hitmakers.com. That's Hitmakers with a Z. Thanks for listening.
When did gay pride become just pride?
I can answer that for you, and I can answer what a big turnaround was, and it's a very simple thing. Corporatism is when gay pride became pride. As soon as we got corporate sponsors, as soon as we had the approval of the corporations around us, oh my God, the beer company's going to sponsor it and they're going to give us a float, and look at the telephone company's going to do something and someone else is going to do something.
But drop the gay.
Yeah, drop the gay and include everyone. And I always thought, why should we include everyone? This is a gay pride celebration. It is for people who are in a sexual minority. We had something that was for us to make people recognize who we are and to acknowledge that we actually existed.
Award-winning playwright and author Brad Fraser reflects on some important gay history. The time frame, the 1990s. When gay pride becomes pride, with the introduction of corporate sponsorships.
I'm Billy Newton Davis, and we're sitting here on Rainbow Country with the fabulous Mark Tara.
Something you mentioned earlier in this interview that was obviously huge. 1990's Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor. In December of 1990, Billboard named Nothing Compares to You as the #1 world single of 1990 at the first Billboard Music Awards. Talk to me about your involvement in the recording and the making of Nothing Compares to You.
Well, again, it was through Nigel Grange of Ensign Records, because he signed Sinead. He was always going to Ireland and checking out talent. Right? So he phoned me I'd already done some work with Sinead. I mixed 2 singles off of The Lion and the Cobra, which is her debut album. A song called Mandinka and a song called Put 'Em On Me. So I mixed those.
2 great songs.
And, yeah, they're really good. They sound really good even now. So I did a really good job, I must say. But Sinead was really happy with the sound I got on her record. She started doing an album. Now Ensign called me, Nigel Grange called me and said, Chris, we need your help. Sinead has started this album with Nellie Hooper and it's not working. She walked out the studio after 2 days and she refused to work with Nellie Hooper. So we need you to produce this album. So it was a last minute thing, troubleshooter kind of stuff, And so anyway, I met Sinead and, she already heard my previous work and she liked it. So we just started, launched into the album. But the funny thing is, it's one of the easiest records I've ever made in my life. The album's called I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got. And the hit single was Nothing Compares to You. And Nothing Compares to You was a one take vocal, I had the track up in the studio. She came in one morning and she said, put up a mic, I want to sing, So I stuck my go-to 414 BULS AKG mic up, which I record all my hits on. And she slammed it in one take. And then she said, I'm going home. She didn't like studio. She found it really boring in the studio. So she'd only be in the studio for a minimal amount of time just to get, just to record. So literally the whole album took, not more than 6 weeks to make, And they're short days. They weren't like 48-hour sessions like I was used to doing. They were like 6 hours and I was in and out, And it's funny because it's the album that I've made, that all the albums I made, it took the least time, but it sold the most copies. That's interesting, isn't it?
In 2022, when you hear that song today, what goes through your mind?
I forgot to put a bass on it. That's what goes through my mind. If you listen to the record, you'll notice that there's no bass.
And that's because you forgot, or?
Well,
it didn't need it.
Kind of just sounded good. We had some strings which was supplying a little bit of bottom end, cello sort of thing. But it's funny. I just couldn't think of an appropriate bass line at the time. I'm actually a really, really good bass player, so I'm noted for my bass lines on my songs. But on this song, I didn't put one on there, so it's interesting. It actually, it was so big, and maybe that's part of it. It had that massive sort of space at the bottom end. So it's kind of it makes when you do something like that, it makes the record sound really unique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Chris, you are a producer, you are an engineer, you are a musician, you're also a recording artist in your own right. And recently on the music site, Reverb Nation, you've been in the charts. You're top 40 on there. Yeah. How does that make you feel charting with your own music?
It's great actually, because I have to tell you, I've been writing songs since I was in my, in my teens. I won't tell you when that was, but I was, I've always written songs, and I released my debut album in London in 1993, called Men from the Sky. And I know that I'm a good songwriter, but I've never had I've always put my stuff on the back burner to help other people out, And Ed Bicknell, the manager of Dire Straits, phoned me in 1993. He phoned me. He said, I've just heard your album, Men from the Sky. He said, it's the best album I've heard in 7 years. And this is from Dire Straits manager, who I think are an awesome band. And, he said, come into my office. And, so I went in there next day, and he picked up the phone and he phoned Polydor, and he got me a deal just by making a phone call to release, my first single, which is called Where Do We Go From Here? And that went on to a compilation album with Peter Gabriel, Dire Straits, Bob Marley, called One Voice, One Love. So I know that my stuff's good, but I didn't really follow it up. I went I bought a chateau in the south of France with Sinead O'Connor royalties. Built a studio down there. So I've always kind of been magnetized by studio production, producing artists. And it's kind of always put my own stuff on the back burner. So when I got to Canada in 2012, and I'm now a citizen of Canada, I actually promised myself I'm going to actually start releasing my own music, because I think I'm good. And I've got thousands of songs, I write songs every day, usually at 4 a.m, and so I've got some really great stuff out. I've got a single out at the moment called 22-2, which is about the last few years during COVID and stuff. It's kind of slightly humorous. And we got, I've got a band called the Happy Campers. We've just released a song called Icky Cottage Blues, which is turning into a summer sing-along hit. Which is great. And I have a band called the Free Spirits too, which is, more kind of spiritual kind of music, which is, with one of my writing partners, Sherry Talon, who's a flute and pianist. So I've got 3 projects on the go, but they're all based on my music, which is great. And I'm really, really happy. And I'm still producing people. I've just done a bunch of mixing for Buffy, for a documentary. Just produced a couple of tracks. I'm working on an album with Donita Large from Edmonton. She's an indigenous artist, fantastic singer. It's gonna blow your socks off when you hear her voice. And then I'm also working for Hitmakers out of Ottawa, producing artists from Nunavut. So I'm doing a lot of work with indigenous people, and I'm really happy to do that because I think they deserve a shot.
Yeah, Thor Simonson.
Yeah, Thor Simon. Oh yeah,
yes.
Him. Okay, cool. Yeah. He's got a big heart. He's from Denmark.
Yeah. How did he get into music originally? How did this all happen for you?
Oh, I just to stop being basically getting away from a thoroughly miserable childhood. My parents broke up when I was 4. Never saw my mum again. Dad was a truck driver. Spent all my time with my sister just on her own in a lonely house. And then he hired a stepmother to look after us who hated us and turned it. So my whole childhood was a grey nightmare, and I don't really ever remember much of it. But what saved me was music. I just loved music. I made my first guitar when I was 8 years old out of bits of wood in the garbage. I was so determined to play. Of course, I had no lessons or anything. And then I saved up every penny I could get and bought my first electric guitar when I was 12. And just practice to sit home with every vinyl I'd get my hands on, learning, Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin licks. And that kept me out of trouble because the place I grew up in was full of criminals. Most of my friends all ended up in prison. And I didn't because I used to sit at home and learn to play guitar instead of getting into trouble, And that saved me. And then when I was 19, I just ran away from home. I thought, can't stand this anymore. Got to get out. Went to London. Literally slept on the streets of London for a while and went to every audition. And then, really, the thing that kind of turned my life around, you get these kind of crossroads in your life, right? Where something happens and you make a decision and everything changes. So I was working in a gas station doing a night shift, working from 11 till 7 in the morning, so I could actually find a place to live. And, one morning, this guy came in at 2 in the morning and said, "You Chris Burkett, the guitar player?" And I said, "Yeah, it's me." And I don't know how he found out about me, but he said, we're a soul band, and we got an 18-month tour of Germany. We need a guitar player. Do you want to come? And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." I said, "When are we leaving?" He said, "Tomorrow morning at 7. So I had zero notice. I just had to get out of there. I quit the job as soon as the boss came in, jumped in the back of a truck, went across the English Channel to Germany. And then I got to play, we were a great soul band, so I got to play, we were asked to be the band for Rufus Thomas and Peebles, I Can't Stand the Rain, Rufus Thomas, Funky Chicken, Walking the Dog, all that stuff. Gene Knight, King Floyd. I got to play with some really great, Memphis artists. So that really broadened my outlook on, because before that I was, Led Zepp, Deep Purple type, right? So I was a rock guitarist, and I got into soul and funk and then that's it. It was a kind of long story, but that's the first part of the story, which was a significant change in my life from being a homeless musician to actually, working.
How did a homeless musician end up being on a stage, and in the audience was one of the members of the Beatles?
Oh yeah, that was the band from Germany, the soul band that we were called Montana Red Dog, and we were asked to be the main band, backing band for all the Memphis artists. So one of them was Ann Peebles. I Can't Stand the Rain. She had a big hit with that, right? Which I play at my concerts sometimes. And so Ann was asked to perform at the opening night of a very exclusive restaurant called Bieber's in London. It was on the roof of one of the hotels in Kensington. It was like very exclusive place, really, really like one of the best places to go to. And so I was on stage with her playing, I Can't Stand the Rain and some other stuff. And there in the audience was John Lennon listening to me play. So I was, I didn't know at the time. I thought I would have shit myself. But when I got off stage, somebody said, John Lennon's here. And I go, he was actually listening to me. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet him because there was a lot of people around him. But anyway, it was great that I'm just a total fan of the Beatles. I just think they were just divine. The amount of great music that came through that team was formidable. So just being close to one of them is great for me.
You've worked with the likes of Sinead O'Connor, the Talking Heads, the Pogues, Bob Geldof. Your name is on 100 million records sold worldwide, and
yeah, that was 10 years ago. It's a lot more than that now. But actually, we're not selling records anymore. So you're aware of that, right? So it's not going to go up much higher than 200 million.
Well, there you go. In 2022, you're featured in the documentary Buffy Sainte-Marie's Carry It On. You're on the charts on Reverb Nation. Did you think that, and you were just mentioning it, being, a young musician on the streets hustling, going from gig to gig, pumping gas even. Did you imagine this type of career for yourself when you were struggling?
I always had a kind of without sounding pretentious, I always had a light in me. And funny thing is that Ann Peebles' sister was a psychic medium. And of course, we were traveling around in a tour bus together. Her sister was there. And she told me once, she did a reading. She said, you're going to make a lot of money in music. She said, I don't know how, but I can see this incredible sort of aura around you, And so I never forgot that. But it always gave me faith. Not that I have to tell you, I've never been in music for money. I've always been in music because I just love it, and I wouldn't, even if I was still homeless, I'd still be playing music and writing songs. So it's not that, but it's, I felt gratitude for the gifts that I had. And, I've got a lot of gifts, and I'm really grateful for it. I can fix just about anything, and I can build just about anything. I bought a 32-room chateau in the south of France, which is run down. And I renovated it room by room, built 5 bathrooms, 3 kitchens, and a recording studio. And I did that myself because I love building. So for me, building and cooking and other forms of creativity are all the same thing. They're the same as music. You're combining stuff and you're using your imagination and you're making something. You're giving birth to a new object, a material object. And that's wonderful. With music, it's finer because you're taking what I think of as divine energy, from the Akashic field, from the Hindu thing. And you're taking that energy and you're manifesting it into material so it can actually be perceived with our senses. And that's the same as, cooking or building. It's the same thing, but, different manifestation, but the same laws.
Well said. I love that. When audiences see this new documentary, Buffy Sainte-Marie, Carry It On, what do you hope audiences come away with? What would you like to see audiences come away with after seeing that film?
I'd like to see them come away with increased awareness of the need to end separation on this planet. This is one of the chief problems with humanity, is that we're separate. We don't accept people from other races, other color, other cultures, other social status. We're all separate. And it's, separatism, I would call it, is the chief evil. And I think one of the things that this movie will do, it'll help to wake people up to the fact that we need to be inclusive in our appreciation of humanity. If you look at this planet from outer space, you do not see political boundaries and cultural boundaries and social boundaries. You see a one humanity living and breathing on a beautiful geosphere globe, And that's the way we need to start thinking like that, And I think this movie might help people to do that. But me and Buffy are on a similar path. She introduced me to some wonderful teachings which have changed my life. I won't go into that now, but and that's so we have the same. We're kind of doing the same job, and she's a lot further on than I am because she's been doing it longer. But it's the same thing, and the aim is to make humanity is to get across to humanity that truth, beauty, and goodness, and compassion and love. Love is the chief energy of the universe, which makes everything work. And we kind of block that love in us, in our ordinary human relationships. There's a blockage to it, and you can't block it. You can't block energy, because if you do, it's like blocking water in a river. It will create huge pressure, and that pressure is dis-ease. Disease. Disease is nothing other than dis-ease, not at ease. And so we have to let that love flow, and that's one of the ways to do it. I mean, John Lennon sang about it, so it's not new. It's not news, but we have to be reminded of this as a human race. We tend to divide ourselves all the time. So I think hopefully this movie will get that message across to people. And also I think on a personal level, it will inspire some people to get on the evolutionary path, which we're on anyway, but to get back on it and try and be better at what they do. Because Buffy's a great example of that. She's a prime example of beautiful spirit that's manifested and has grown through adverse conditions into a gorgeous flower, a bit like how a lotus works. The lotus roots are in the mud, dark mud, but it climbs through the water, and this beautiful flower comes out at the top, and that's kind of what we are,
I just have a couple minutes left, but my last question for you is the song "Carry It On." This is the name of the documentary. It's from the 2017 award-winning album Medicine Songs. What's the song "Carry It On"? What's this track about?
Well, when Buffy does this song live, she actually reads all the words of the song out as a poem before she actually goes into the song, which is a great idea. In fact, I'm going to steal it from my own show. But the song is about it's kind of on the subject that we're talking about, which is appreciating Mother Nature, and she's the daughter of God and the source of our perfection. This is some of the lines in the song, and whatever adverse conditions you have and whatever fears and problems, just carry it on and just keep going, And there's another song which has this theme as well, which is called "You Got to Run," which is also on the album. It's on the Power and the Blood album, and that's it's a message. Buffy's music has the ability to heal if you listen to it, and so I would suggest anybody listen to one of Buffy's songs and go into the lyric and instead of just singing it, just like look at what she's saying. And usually it'll be about truth, or it'll be about feeling right about yourself, because we're so saddled with guilt and all the stuff from all the programming we've had through like world religions and stuff. We all think we're bad people, we've been programmed that way, and it's not true. We all have a particle, the light of God in us, but the flame is so dim sometimes because it's obscured by fear, and we have to get past that. And you'll get that message, I believe, in Buffy's music, and "Carry It On" is a good example of that. So whatever happens, just carry it on.
Chris Burkett, well said. Powerful words. Powerful words.
Well, that's how I feel. So
thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on the show as always, Chris Burkett.
Thanks very much. Anytime.
Buffy Sainte-Marie, "Carry It On," a new documentary. So keep your eyes out for this documentary when it does hit streaming. And for even more music from award-winning music producer Chris Burkett, you can find him on streaming.
Hi, everyone. This is Mark Tewksbury, Olympic champion, leader, humanitarian. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Up next, meeting the TIFF programmers, and today, from 2019, Thom Powers, Senior International Programmer for TIFF Docs, and the sounds from the Toronto International Film Festival. On this episode, a flashback to 2019, when I caught up with some TIFF film goers.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Whoa! You guys are excited, aren't you?
Hello, Toronto!
This is a very exciting night for us.
I'm really freaking excited to be here tonight.
What a great audience.
I'm so excited to be here. It's such a great honor.
I'm so honored to be able to show my film to this august crowd.
What's really fun is people who love film, and you are all that, and we're very proud and happy to be here with all of you.
We should not be afraid to tell stories because we are afraid that people will judge.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity and a platform to be able to showcase our work as female filmmakers.
This is for my parents who couldn't come, so thank you. I'm going to prove it to them. I did it!
I just realised what TIFF actually stands for. Toronto is fucking fantastic.
This is the story of our city, and we're a very proud city, and I want the world to see it.
Thom Powers, hi. How are you?
Happy to be here.
You are the programmer for TIFF Docs.
That's right. So this is the documentary section within the larger festival.
So first of all, how long have you been a programmer at TIFF?
This is my 14th year programming the TIFF Docs section. And then I also run a film festival in New York City called Doc NYC that's America's largest documentary festival.
Wow, congrats on that.
Thank you. We're in our 10th year on that. That takes place in November.
So are you based in New York or Toronto?
I'm based between two cities, mostly in New York.
Okay. Wow.
I have a wife from Toronto, and I've been coming to this festival for nearly 30 years.
Incredible. When you're looking to program a documentary, what is it that gets your attention for any doc that you might be looking at? What gets your attention?
You know, I'm always looking to be surprised. And when I wind up watching, several hundred documentaries each year, and the nice thing about a documentary is that even one that's not completely successful, I always take something away from it, some little insight to the world, so I never get tired of that job. But every once in a while, and it's rarer than it might seem, something will just stand out to me that's apart from the rest. Maybe it's the emotional quality of the film. Maybe it's the amount of time the filmmaker has put into it. I think about a film called Love Child, about an Iranian couple who had to flee Iran because they had an adulterous relationship and a child from that relationship, and faced possible death by stoning for the woman. And in Love Child, we watched them over 6 years trying to navigate the refugee system in Turkey. Now, I've seen a lot of films about refugees, and many of them are very powerful, but there's something about this film, Love Child, that was extra extraordinary. And yeah.
You're wearing a pin, Pure Nonfiction.
That's right.
That's your podcast.
This is a podcast that I do interviewing documentary filmmakers. There's over 110 episodes. You can listen to them for free wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. And I've been doing it for about 4 years now. And it's a real pleasure to me because at settings like TIFF, I have this unique opportunity to sit down with filmmakers and have conversations with them, and I feel like I've been doing that for 14 years, but only for the last 4 years with the podcast have I been able to really preserve them and share them with an audience of listeners.
I'm curious to know if you know about this or not, but there's Google devices, that Google Home, Google Mini, where you talk to them and you can say, play me something.
Sure.
That sort of thing. Now they have, because I've tried this on my own, they have where you can say the wake-up word and then you can say, play
Pure Nonfiction
podcast. And then I'll play the latest one.
I love it.
So if you know anyone that has a Google Home or a Google Mini, you should get them to try that.
Okay.
Get them to try that. Just a little FYI, a little tech FYI. The most challenging aspect for you when it comes to programming docs?
Well, the most challenging aspect is that I only have room to program 3% of the films that are submitted. And so I spend the midpoint of my summer, disappointing over 800 documentary filmmakers who did really valuable work, and put their heart and soul and maybe their bank account into their film. And I spent 10 years as a documentary filmmaker myself. I teach documentary film to MFA students at the School of Visual Arts in New York. I have a deep and profound respect for anyone who ventures out and does that. So it's not fun to let people down.
Best aspect?
The best aspect is being able to give a spotlight to the films that we do have in the festival. You only get one chance to present your first film to your first audience, and that's a precious thing to be able to experience.
Thom Powers, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
I am here with Kaylee on King Street. Kaylee, first of all, you have beautiful hair. What color is your hair?
It's like a vibrant Barbie pink, I would say.
I love it. You're here waiting for some celebrity sightings. Who are you excited to see?
I'm mostly excited here to see Chris Evans, but as well as Jamie Lee Curtis and Daniel Craig are also going to be here, which I'm excited for, but mostly Chris Evans.
Okay, this is my second year covering TIFF. How many times have you been here?
This is my first time ever. It's like my first day, first year.
And what prompted you to come out?
Well, I've been obsessed with Marvel movies for so long, and now that I've seen that a lot of them are coming to this festival, I thought it would be fun to check it out. I didn't get any tickets to see any movies, but it's still a fun time.
Well, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I came over because you have a head full of fantastic hair. Love it.
I love it too. Bigger the better.
I know. The closer to God.
That's right. That's right.
What brings you to TIFF 2019?
Actually, I just met this young lady. I was telling her that probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I started to bring my daughter because she was in love with Johnny Depp, and it becomes addictive. So every year we just scout through, see what movies and see what people she primarily wants to see, and find our way down during that time. It's just a good time to spend together.
How many years? This is my second year coming to TIFF. How many years have you been coming to TIFF?
I think since probably 2015. So lived in Toronto most of my life, had never come to TIFF. And as I said, I just come with my daughter now because of the first year Johnny Depp was here, and it was kind of, she loves him. And it was like, okay, well, let's go see what happens. And it literally just became addictive.
And so who are you excited to see at TIFF, maybe even today?
Well, yesterday, we got our big person already. So yesterday it was Michael B. Jordan. So she got him. That was great. We were actually going to go get something to eat and wait for the Hustlers premiere. And then she realized that Chris Evans was here. So we're waiting for Chris Evans. And then we're going to make our way over to the line so that we can hopefully see Lizzo and hopefully see J-Lo. And that's the plan.
From your lips to God's ears, good luck with that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
No problem. My pleasure.
So I am here with Christopher on King Street. Christopher, hi.
Hi, how you doing, Mark?
I'm good. So what are you here waiting in line to do?
So we're here at TIFF. We're like the TIFFer phenomenon in the fan zone. We're here to get Daniel Craig's autograph and Chris Evans' autograph and photos. There are people here from the States, from Japan, from Mexico, from everywhere, and they're here to get one or the other, right? Or both, if they're lucky, right? So we're lucky it's not raining, the sun's out, the street is open, so hopefully good luck will come to us.
Well, thanks so much for your time.
No worries, Mark. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Whoa!
Don't forget, for all things TIFF, TIFF.net.
Hi, my name is Joanne Vanicola, and I'm an actor and a writer, and I was first on Rainbow Country with Mark Tara on discussing the massacre at Pulse Club in Orlando. I realized how important it was for our community to have a radio station, specifically for our issues, to talk about people in the LGBTQ community and to provide an outlet for our stories, to discuss our politics, culture, and give voice to the issues that matter to us. And of course our artists and the things that we do globally, and talk about culture. And without people like Mark Tara providing a space for this with a radio show like this, then we wouldn't have that voice. So support, tune in. Thank you.
And just like that, this little gay journey through Rainbow Country has come to an end. For the full 2-hour episode, head over to marktara.com, where everything is connected, and hit the archives banner. If you'd like to keep up to date with the show, make sure you check out my socials at Mark Tara. The podcast is available on all major platforms, including audible.com and iHeartRadio. And finally, I want to take this time to thank you for taking your time to be with me. Remember, despite all the craziness happening in the world these days, know this, that we are living in days of making dreams come true, so believe in your dreams, and the world will believe in you.
Hi, this is Police Constable Danielle Botno, also known as LGBT Cop, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara